we're back and we've got nice question. One from Lint Press on Instagram, who says, how do you get your art seen by people that want to buy it? And then in the same vein, Rafaela Taylor said, I know I keep mentioning markets, fairs and selling prints, but I would find it interesting to get deeper into this topic. The interview that was recently posted on the business course was a great start, but I'd find it interesting to go into a bit more depth or cover some specific areas. It seems like a lot of people on the business course are also interested in this as an additional revenue stream, but wondering if it's worth it. From what I've gathered, Tanya and Helen both have experience running online shops and making prints, so I'd be interested to hear more about your experience with this. Is it really possible to make money? Is it more of an expensive hobby?
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, I had an online shop for a few years. And it was brilliant. It wasn't just a hobby. It did make money. I'm trying to remember how much it made us. Maybe about £11,000 a year, probably. But that did take a lot of work. It was good as an extra stream of income, but I had to keep on top of it all the time. I haven't got a huge Instagram following, but I've got enough that would send people to the shop. So I think if you don't have a social media somewhere with a good group of... it doesn't have to be a huge amount of people, but people who love your work and want to buy it. Without that, I would say an online shop is quite hard. You could start your shop and your social media at the same time and build them both up together. That would work. But it was worth it. It was really good. I enjoyed doing it. And I stopped doing it because I just juggled so many projects and my head was just spinning in all directions. And in the end, I had to decide which things were a priority. So yeah, we closed our shop. But it did work brilliantly as long as I was always sending out newsletters and posting on Instagram.
To be consistent.
Yeah.
Mm. But also that was two of you, wasn't it? Because you had Jerry's prints as well. Because when you said, 11,000 a year for turnover, that's a lot. That's really good for a side gig for a shop.
Yeah, and I was doing all the marketing. So there were two of us with stuff in the shop, but I was doing all the marketing work, which was a lot of work. We didn't share that. And Jerry's work, we sold the majority of Jerry's work.
Which are higher price prints.
Yeah, because his work... He makes huge, big whale prints. And actually, I haven't included the whale prints. We sold those completely separately in another way. We'd have an online exhibition, which would last a weekend, and people could go to the website just for that weekend. And we'd sell about 10 of them, and they were about £1,000 each. So we still do that, actually. We'll carry on doing that. But it is a shop, but it was done in a very different way. It was doors open, doors are closed. Yeah. And that was a good way of doing it, actually. And we still do that because... it's an intense little bit of marketing, but once you've finished, but Jerry's not into doing any of that marketing stuff and I love it. So that's my job. And because Jerry doesn't like doing any of that at all, we decided we would close the shop because it was a lot of work for me and I've got so many other plates to spin. But yeah, it does work.
That was based on a good Instagram following. You'd say that's the how-to comes from building your following.
And your newsletter.
And the newsletter.
Yeah, because I always think emails... sell much, it's much easier for somebody to click on a link in an email and buy something than to get a link on social media and go off social media.
It's tricky on Instagram because they've got to go back to your profile and click your little list of links. Yeah, so it was a mixture of Instagram and Instagram saying to people, join the newsletter. And then once they're on the newsletter, then it's easier to have those links.
And like you said before, Instagram is not your property and the following there could disappear in a day once your account is hacked.
Exactly.
As it may inevitably one day happen or not if you're lucky. So building the emails on the newsletter gives you your real estate to contact that list of people again, and that will always be your own list.
Your list doesn't have to be long either. They just have to be good fans who really like your stuff and really want to buy it. So you don't have to have a massive newsletter. I think when we were running the shop, my newsletter was quite low. I'm trying to think now, maybe 700 people, which is not...
That's not bad.
It's definitely not bad, but it's not in the thousands. I have got thousands now. I'm just remembering back when we had the shop, it wasn't huge, but there was enough people that people would come and buy the stuff.
And Katie, you did calendars, didn't you?
Yeah, I had a great time doing calendars because I'd dabbled with Etsy and I found that for me anyway, the fees that Etsy took were high and then the amount of time hanging around at the post office for the occasional sale, it just didn't work out as being worth it and it did feel like an expensive hobby. But then I discovered the idea of pre-selling things. So I created calendars, I mocked up the design, told people it was available on my email list and on social media, and then people would pre-order them. And then it meant that I only printed as many as I'd sold, so there wasn't excess stock hanging around, and it meant I could give people special offers. They'd get a little bonus planning wall planner thing that was like really inexpensive to print for me if they bought it by a certain date. And yeah, for me that was a really consistent earner. I'd get about £1,000 per year. So like only November, December doing it. That'd be about £1,000, and probably £500 or £600 of that was profit. And at that time, that was like a big chunk of money. It covered my Christmas expenses. I could buy all my Christmas presents with it, and also I really enjoyed doing it. And I roped in Cameron, my husband, to help me pack them up, and he loves doing that sort of thing. So I'd pack them up and post them, and
yeah, that's why Jerry and I worked well with the shop, because he loved wrapping, and I don't really like doing that. So I would do the sales bit, and he would do all the wrapping and
that's
go
the
to the
dream
post
team,
office.
isn't it? You need like somebody who loves marketing and somebody who loves packing and posting.
Because you completely underestimate how much time you're going to be faffing around in a domestic post office with everyone tutting behind you because you've got a load of stuff in one go, or that you're going back frequently, taking one thing at a time because you've sold another print. But your calendar is such a good idea because you've harnessed your art to a practical product. So people can persuade themselves I'm not just buying a piece of art for the wall. This will be useful for other people's presents or useful for me. So looking at selling your art should be, can you put your art onto something that is, and inevitably anything on paper is cheap to produce, is cheaper than stuff on plastic like phone cases and all the stuff that comes with the drop shipping, which is a bit tricky, isn't it? Then there's environmental issues and how you feel about mass producing stuff. But paper is a winner.
We found that every time we made a new product, we made sure that we considered the size of the envelope before we made the product. Yes. And when we had the product made, we would buy the envelopes and the packaging and the little freebies that went inside and the tissue paper and everything for every single thing we had, because there was no point making a new product and then you launch it and you're selling it. Oh, no, we have no envelopes. I've got to go to the shops and get the envelopes, or they don't fit, or the postage is going to be more than I expected and we lose a load of profit. Yeah. So it's always a good idea to consider the packaging and the cost of postage and the freebies that are going to go in there, stickers or postcards or whatever, with every single new product that you put in the shop.
And get your postage right as well, because a lot of the stuff I sell online in Etsy is about Hong Kong. I send loads of it to America or to Canada.
Stuff on Etsy?
Yeah, that's still on there, because the reason I sell prints online came about as an accident, which is maybe the way other people do it. You have a show, you put all that hard work into a show. I sold lots of prints, the show finished, and then people kept saying, can I still buy some of the prints? So I thought at the time, this was probably about 2012, Etsy's great as a place to sell and as a kind of catalogue of all your work and the prints that are available. So I loaded it all up, and then I used to sell very frequently from that. And as there's a diaspora of either expats who loved Hong Kong, who've gone back to their home countries, or Hong Kongers that have left and gone to their own countries, I do loads of worldwide postage. And it's a real pain in the butt because some of the prices are really high. Like sending to the US or Canada is in the £18 range. So you really have to check out whether you're going to do it in mailers or flat pack. Are the flat packs strong enough to take an A3 image? Would they get bent? And then the girls at the post shop say, don't put fragile on it because they'll bend it just for a laugh. So, mailing rolls are difficult because your work is going to be all springy, and if they try and force it and lay it flat, it will get a crease in it. So you have to put in instructions on how to open the package. But it's been a really good thing to do because the work is very subject specific. I don't have to do much marketing on it because people are actually searching something like map of Hong Kong or Chinese New Year. So I haven't got a newsletter or anything to sell it. I just left the work there knowing that I could continue to print these things, and that would be a nice cupboard to sell it from.
So that's how you're getting your work in front of people that want to buy it, is just by describing it, and then Etsy shows it to people that are looking for that sort of thing.
In theory, I put all the right hashtags on it, but then when I try to search myself from outside, I don't find that it's there easily. So I don't know, maybe there's a glitch in the universe there. But then after the prints, I started making them into cards, and I met this lady who runs indie retail academies at Claire Yates, and she's so brilliant, and that was pretty life-changing. So we put Claire in our business course talking about how to sell to shops. So that's the second stage. You can sell business to consumer, i.e. sell your art to individuals, or you can sell to businesses who will get your art in front of other people. So Claire's is all about how, from a shopkeeper's point of view, she owns an indie retail kind of art and design shop in Biggar in Scotland. And she knows what it's like from her side of the counter when artists want to sell their cards or their prints or crafts or whatever. And it's just invaluable, the stuff she talks about. So we have got her to talk especially to illustrators about what kind of things have higher profit margins, are easier to deal with, and shops like to sell. And greetings cards is one of them. We've got another card manufacturer on the business course, lovely Hadley Paper Goods, and she goes into the nitty gritty of the profit margins and production, good ideas about producing cards and finding good printers, because that's a great area for illustrators to get into. If someone loves your card, they might actually buy a print off you after they've bought a few cards, or they send your card to someone who they think will like that work, who will then look you up on the back and maybe buy art prints. So it's like a calling card or your own marketing that actually makes a bit of profit at the same time. So I did a batch of cards. I learned how to do a line catalogue, and I sent it to the new super huge gallery in Hong Kong called M+. And they've got 2 shops because the gallery's so huge. It's like the Tate Modern, but in Hong Kong. And they ordered the full range, and they keep ordering more every time I make a new one. And they order from me every 2 months. So I just do one client, because that can get really complicated if you're managing too many clients and they want to do things, instead of buying wholesale, retail, they want to sell and return, which is really complicated.
Well, that must be hard for cards, because they might get handled and then sent back.
Yeah, and really hard for prints, and worse for stuff like wrapping paper, wrapping paper would be a dream for illustrators to do. But the delivery, the manufacture, the sale or return, or them saying, oh, it's got all bent, so we'll just put it in the bin. And you can't remember how many you sent in the first place. And unless you like Excel spreadsheets, sale or return is a nightmare.
Yeah. I think in general it's best to avoid that, isn't it? Sale or return. Like, you've bought these, you have to sell them now.
But if it's not cards that you're selling or products, there are some other ways about it. Like you can go to, is it PrintSpace?
Yeah, PrintSpace, you can scan your work in and specify what kind of paper and everything, and then advertise it in your shop, and then every time one is sold, PrintSpace send it out.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah.
They've made it really easy. I think they've got something called, it's not Creative Boom, Creative Space, Creative something.
Yeah.
And they have a whole book on how to sell your art using their system, and they will promote your artwork as well. And you don't even have to sign the stuff. They'll print it directly from PrintSpace and send it out for you.
Wow.
Like you were saying, if you advertise it on your website. And they have a whole, on Facebook, there's a really good group allied to PrintSpace that do free online courses about how to sell art. And there's a book also called The Artist's Guide to Selling Work by Annabel Ruston, published by Bloomsbury.
Further reading.
Yeah, if you want to read more.
Nice. Also, I feel like in products, like when you're selling your own work, you have much more scope and leeway for pricing, don't you?
Yeah.
Because if people are buying your work, they want your work. They're not like, how am I going to get the cheapest card? They're like, I love Helen Stevens' work and I want a lion on a card. Not that you have a lion on a card.
Who is this person? I love this person.
and then I think you can mess around with it a bit. Not mess around, you can experiment scientifically and say, if it's £4, how many do I sell? If it's, how much profit am I making? How much fun am I having?
We had this whole conversation, Jerry and I, when we had the shop. So he sells his original whale prints over. He opens the doors for a weekend and closes them. But he also makes these whale posters. So they're not hand printed. Those are, printed somewhere else.
Are they litho? Or
they're just a very nice quality poster with a whale image on it that's not quite the same as the original artwork. But sometimes he'll do batches where he'll get the poster and then he'll do one layer of screen printing of neon fish over the top or something.
I think we've got one like that.
Yeah. So because those are a much cheaper price point, we don't put them in the weekend exhibition. We used to put those in the shop that's open all the time. So those posters, because they were hand finished, I think we were selling those for about £100 each, and they sold really well. They were our biggest seller. Because if you couldn't afford the print that was nearly £1,000, you might be able to buy the poster, and it was hand finished. Yeah. And then we had this conversation about, the whale images are so popular, should we put them on the front of notebooks or postcards or whatever? But we decided against it because then you could get the whale image much cheaper. And would it spoil the sales of the...
Does it cannibalise the main one?
So because Jerry is really known for those whales and the prints are so beautiful and high-end, and he makes a nice... It's worth imprinting them because he makes good money on them, then it's not worth, say, printing them on a T-shirt or a postcard or a card. But we had a chat about it numerous times and always kept coming back to, no, let's just keep those as they are. Because what if you've got the whale print and it's £1,000, and then you've got a whale lampshade and it's 100? It makes the original print not seem worth the money.
It's worth thinking about if you want to keep something special.
Yeah.
But there's an argument, not totally against what you've just said, but to make yourself affordable, especially for fine artists. Do you remember when I told you we were having that kind of mentorship from Kerry Hand? There was a group of us in Berwick that were picked. And anyway, we work with this amazing mentor. If anyone wants to look her up, she's called Kerry Hand, CEI, and then Hand as normal. And she has a really good podcast, and she talks to more fine artists and sculptors and architects and all different sort of areas. One section of the things she was talking about was if you only sell a painting 4 times a year and your paintings sell at £8,000, then how do you live on that income? And she was saying, even in fine art, it's worth making a smaller, more affordable version of your work so that people can buy into it. That's a bigger jump than Jerry's £1,000 whales, but I think it's really relevant for people who their work takes a long time and it has a high value. A bit like the Andrew Cranston show that was in the gallery in Wakefield. They have one etching for sale there because, of course, no one can afford one of his gorgeous paintings. But he must have been to Kerry Hand and she'd be like, yeah, make an etching and do it in an edition of 800 so that you can sell that for maybe £200. So there's an accessible aspect to your work. So you can find a way that doesn't cannibalise it or doesn't use the whale as a faux motif or kind of branding thing, but it's a different bit of Jerry that people could have.
We did. We had the posters, so there was the £1,000 and then the £100. But I don't know whether we were right or wrong. Really, the posters sold incredibly well because it was definitely the next stage down from the original print.
And it's horses for courses, isn't it? Some people do have the money to buy the unique individual piece.
There are plenty of people to buy those. We always sold out every time, even whether you think, wow, it's a lot of money, that, isn't it? There are always plenty of people who wanted them. We have waiting lists for them.
That's amazing. And also that thing of don't price things based on what you think is expensive, because the people who are buying from you have a far better income, more likely, than an artist.
I had a good conversation with your sister years ago, Katie, before I knew you. And she was pricing, she's a photographer, isn't she? And she does wedding photos. And she told me that she thinks about what you would expect to pay if you were going to have somebody take your wedding photos and then triple it.
Wow.
That's how she came up with her fee. And she's hugely busy, isn't she?
Yeah. Actually, she's really always going on about, I'm going to stop doing weddings. And she carries on every year. So.
She's so sociable. I bet she loves it.
She is, yeah. She likes talking to people.
Yeah.
But then the opposite of that is you go on Etsy and people are putting out prints. I don't know whether they're giclées or whether they're just printing them out from inkjet printers so they'll fade away. And those prints are they're putting them for £10, £15. It's way too cheap and it pulls the whole market down.
You do wonder whether it actually works for those people. For those people, is it a hobby? You don't know, do you, whether it actually works? I can't imagine how you make that work.
I think that's where it's really important not to look at what other people are doing as well, because you don't know if it's a hobby, you don't know if they've got a secret pile of money that they're actually living on.
Yeah. Exactly. And they can afford, they're just looking to sell and they enjoy the buzz of the sell, but it's not important to them. I don't think I'd really want to go to print something out and go to the post office for £10.
Yeah,
especially
when
our
you take
post
your
office.
when you take the cost of the post office and the time it takes you to join the queue and wait there,
and
it's not worth
packaging.
it.
I think that's really important to actually really price up like the packaging, the postage, the cost of making the thing, and then your time as well. I think people always forget about their time.
The emails back and forth. Yeah. Have you sent it yet? Yeah, it's on its way.
You do want to make a profit, otherwise what's the point?
But then I have really good friends who run a shop and they sell lots and lots of very low cost things like postcards and badges and things, but they sell in such massive quantity that they're at the post office every day with 4 bags for life or more. And they have an arrangement with the post office where you can do the drop and, what's it called? Click and drop, or I don't know what it's called. They just leave their bags there. They don't even have to join the queue. And every day they've got a guaranteed huge quantity of stuff that goes all over the world. So they've got very low cost
price points, but
they sell in such massive quantity, it makes it
It's
worth
like
it.
anything. Annoyingly, there's no right or wrong answer.
Yeah.
Either do it really cheap and sell loads of them, or
Yeah.
do it a bit more pricey, sell a few. Yeah.
And then there's in-person markets. So we have Taryn on the course talking about selling at fairs. And that's a lot of work. But then on the same hand, a couple of years ago, I saw the Glasgow Print or the Glasgow Illustrators Fair in action, maybe Print Fair. And it just blew me away. I felt so excited. Each illustrator's stall was 3 deep in people grabbing at prints and all the different stuff. There were lots of like football scarves with illustrators' designs on it, badges, all sorts of stuff. And the majority of people at that fair were selling in huge volume. It was 2 days. The place was hot and steamy and noisy. And I was like, let's do one of these in Berwick. So I think if you go to a fair that's marketed properly and there's a buzz about it, you can do really well there.
And that's the thing with fairs, they're not all created equal. I've done
Yeah.
some terrible
We did a
fairs.
pop-up shop in town once, didn't we?
That was really good.
That was really lucrative.
Was I there as a cardboard cutout?
You were in Canada, maybe,
California.
and I made a cardboard cutout of you, and you just stood behind the till all day.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I wasn't there. That's weird.
That was incredible. That Jerry and I had lots of art because we were running the shop. We just put all our stuff from the shop in there. It was brilliant because there was a real buzz about it. Everybody was out, and it was well worth it.
And we did a mini one. Do you remember the first one we did at Christmas
In
here?
your kitchen.
Yeah.
Yes,
And
yeah,
we
that was
invited
good as
friends
well.
because a lot of people in Hong Kong used to do sales like that. Someone who'd got the biggest house would ask everyone else to come to their
Like
house,
a
bring their
Tupperware
stuff.
party.
Yeah. And then you just give people lots of nice drinks and cakes. And then we sold a lot, even just in the little home fair.
Brilliant tip in itself. To get your work in front of people that want to buy it, set up your own thing. Invite the people. Like,
Yeah, it's a bit like some of those kind of small bespoke fashion brands will do things like a sample sale. And they send it on a private list. Everyone's like, are you going to that sample sale? It's in a weird old factory down a back street and it's full of posh ladies. I mean, down the jumper people out in Galashiels, all the women who go off to buy some faulty cashmere, you can't move.
I need to ask you about this after the podcast. What knitwear is to be had in Galashiels? I need to know about this.
Well, because all the factories were there, weren't they? All the cashmere factories and some of the best fair isle jumpers known to humanity.
What?
You can really create a buzz around a little kind of homemade in my kitchen sale. We had a lot of fun that first one.
Yeah, we did. It was really good. Your house makes everything look very glamorous, though.
yeah.
My son would just say it's full of crap. That's how you make a glamorous house, full of rubbish from antique shops.
Should we say goodbye then?
We'll do another question in the next episode. See you there.
Okay,
Yeah.
bye.
Bye. Bye.